Richards Bay FC, who will be coming up against SuperSport United. We've already had the Richards Bay FC coach yesterday in Durban, and today, of course, we are joined by Coach Andre Arendse, representing SuperSport United, the away side in this fixture. Coach, maybe just opening remarks, to talk about, the Nedbank Cup fixture. I think it had been a while since you guys progressed to the round of 16, since you last won it. But yeah, you are, now going to be traveling to the KZN province to face Richards Bay. Just your thoughts heading into that fixture?
Yeah, thanks very much. It's nice to be here. Just before we continue, I just want to send through some apologies from my head coach, Gavin Hunt. He unfortunately had to go and take care of an emergency. So, it's with regret that he couldn't be here with you guys. I got to say, I'm not on that level when it comes to the banter that he can offer in conferences like this, and you can see I'm sweating already just trying to keep up with him. But maybe I'll bring a different perspective in terms of where we are and the club and how we're going. So yeah, just to send these apologies through first and foremost. What's lovely is to still be in the cup. As you rightfully say, it's been a while since we've had a run in a cup like this, and at this stage we consider it a bonus still to be in the hat. And of course, coming up against Richards Bay is going to pose a challenge in itself. Firstly, they're hovering at the bottom of the table, which is an added pressure on them from a league perspective, but they're also looking to just change their focus a little bit and have a run from a different perspective in this cup. So by any means, it's not going to be an easy fixture for us, and our work on the training ground is gearing us towards that, and we'll definitely see how that goes, but it's not going to be an easy one, that's for sure.
Thank you very much. Let's take questions from the floor, just by a show of hands. I'll take the first one. We've got Mazola Mlefe from the SABC. Thank you.
Thanks. Coach Andre, Coach Gavin often speaks about maybe this season SuperSport hasn't been perhaps given enough credit, using a lot of players from the youth academy, and still third with a squad that he believes is not necessarily better than the two above in Orlando Pirates and Umlazi Sundowns. Could this cup competition give SuperSport an opportunity also to maybe quiet down the noise in that you're no longer in the Confed Cup, maybe that little bit of distraction and pulling you in different directions with as far as the squad depth is concerned, that you might not even have to necessarily face the big guns to try and win this cup competition?
That's a great question. You're 100% correct, and as much as Gavin feels that we haven't been given enough credit from a youth perspective in terms of who we've brought through, who we've played in teams, who we've played in games, and how the young players have fared so far, I was very sort of pleasantly, not surprised, but intrigued that when I've looked through social media platforms, I've seen a bit of credit being given, and I've seen how the general public have responded to what Gavin has done in terms of bringing through and not being scared to bring through our younger players. And that's wonderful to see, because in all honesty, our younger players have more than stood up to the task. We've used them abundantly on the African continent, and it's been a massive learning curve. I just saw a social media post now today saying that 11 of the players who won our DDC league title last year played in our last game against USM in Algeria, and we lost the game 2-1, but they more than held their own against a star-studded team like that, or a big team like that on the African continent. So that's testament to how Gavin has sort of blooded them and used them, and integrated them with the more senior players. And so as you put the question, this is another game from a cup competition perspective where positions are up for grabs with these young players, and we're keeping faith in them. We don't have the biggest squad around, and we're a club that over the years has taken a lot of pride in our development structures by bringing through players, and it's out there for all to see how they've progressed, not only in the club itself but where they've gone on with bigger moves. And that should be it. They should be allowed to go and to go and flourish and to go and grab the big contracts, if you like. And we've played a massive part in that, and we're very proud of the outcomes so far of our young players as they progressed.
Coach, just try and focus on that camera. You won't feel disrespected.
But he's a good looking guy.
All right, next question, Nyandu, also from the SABC.
Yeah. Coach, just to follow up on Mazil's question, winning this cup competition or finishing second or third, but especially talking about this competition, winning it takes you back to the CAF Confed, depending if maybe you also win the second spot. But I'm looking at how your approach to the CAF Confed. I will not say that you're not competitive, but maybe you didn't seem like a team that really wanted to get into the knockout phase. So obviously you've got your own objectives. But I'm trying to look at the balance, and I'm looking at the situation now that Sundowns is the only PSL team left in the CAF competitions. Is it fair? Don't we look like maybe we want to present the story and the face that we had at the AFCON of the strong league on the continent, that all its 4 teams that enter the competition can possibly go all the way?
That's a very good point. And I think what our showing at AFCON has done is put not only our national team on the African map once again, and I think as clubs who are participating in the tournaments, in the tournaments itself, must try their level best to take that and keep progressing at club level on the African continent. So that's important for clubs to understand. From a personal perspective, and that of SuperSport United, I think there are many factors we've got to take into account when you're travelling into the African continent. One of them, and very importantly, is squad size. It's very difficult when you have league congested sort of fixtures, if you like, through the entire season, your travels on the local front, your travels in Africa, and if you don't have that squad size and the experience that goes with that squad size, and I suppose we've got to be honest and say that there's a massive gulf in terms of squad size, talent on the field, for example, when you look at Sundowns as opposed to other clubs. And yes, that's no excuse. We've got to manage the expectations of the tournaments as best we can. And when you look at the league positions after the group stages, anyone will go, oh, but SuperSport's not serious about the tournament. There are tough conditions out there, and as I've said in my answer to the previous questions, we are at a situation where we have to blood these young players because they need the experience. We need to get them understanding the difference between playing in a DDC league season and playing in the highest stage of African football in these cup competitions. So it does become very difficult, but I can assure you that as a club we take the competition very, very seriously on the African continent. It's how best we can navigate our starting 11s through the African competitions, for example, and also to get the required results. The results haven't come our way. The travels were tough, there's no doubt about that, and any team, even Sundowns, will tell you that if you're not able to charter flights that take you directly to where you go, and you've got to travel the continent to get to one place at a time, it's difficult. It plays a strain and a stressful part on the mental side, the mental toughness of players and teams, and as technical team we've got to try and negotiate that as best we can, and so there's no doubt about it. It's a competition we take seriously, and it's a competition that we will be doing our very best to get back into next season, because we take a season that's passed on the African continent, and we know where we've got to learn, where we've got to improve situations on the training ground, our travels, the timing, the selection of players, all of those things fit into it. And so that's what this has given us so far this season. Again, it's a cup competition that we want to go deep in. You know, we've been known as one of the clubs who are cup kings, for example, if you like. Cup final after cup final, you would have found us there. We've taken a bit of a knock in terms of where we are in terms of our journey in cup competitions. But again, the fact that we are still here gives us an opportunity to go very deep into the tournament. And like you say, who knows, maybe we'll miss some of the so-called big teams, but you never know how the draw goes. But again, it's a cup competition that we've got a good relationship with, and we want to keep that relationship going by staying as long as we can.
Okay, Umlazi.
Coach, we sort of interact a lot with Coach Covenant. There's a theme that he goes on about when he sort of talks about the shortcomings that the club has in terms of results mostly. He always talks about the challenges are because of sometimes reliance on younger players. The question I want to ask you is that how long is that going to continue becoming a thing that he talks about all the time? And also given the fact that, if you look at your team is actually very experienced. Just the quick glance on your team list yesterday. We had Arubi, Lungu, Shatsayo, Magaman, and Lovu, okay, Probla. It's a very experienced footballers. And on the bench, you had Asera, Tugamanja. Is this sustainable for him? I know you can't talk bad about him, but when he speaks, he represents you.
Yeah, sure.
Is this sustainable to continue saying if you have shortcomings, you talk about the fact that you have got young players in the team?
Yeah, I think, I don't know about the word shortcomings. As you rightfully said, Umlazi, we have got the bulk of experience around the group. But we have also we've got to look at it from a squad perspective. And for me, that's important because our squad encompasses young players coming through. We've got them coming through all the time. Every single day we've got young players coming through. We're having a look at them on the training ground. Is this one good enough today? No, he's not. But maybe he's in 3 months' time. We've got to bring him back in 3 months' time again and have another look at them and how they can fit into the squad. We have got an aging squad. There's no doubt about that. You've got to just look at the numbers and the ages. And so we've got to now start. We're a club that cannot go into the marketplace and just go and buy whoever we want. We let's be honest about that. And we've got to, as I say, we've got to continue with our development structures. Is the lifeblood of our club at the moment, and it will continue. There's no doubt about that. And these young players will become experienced as we bring them through the different development processes. But we've also got to understand what we are going to do with the other more senior players in terms of how much can we get out of them and for how much longer we can get it out of them. So we've got to get these young players through the ranks and through the different stages of their development so they can take over. Because like I said, we can't go and spend money on bringing in someone else. So we're always going to have shortcomings here and there. But we, as a technical team, that's our jobs. We've got to plug up those shortcomings, whether it's with other senior players or whether it's with younger players who are coming in. There is no excuse. We can't always use an excuse. But the young players, they're going to make mistakes. Of course they're going to make mistakes, but we must still guide them. We must still bring them into the whole aspect of playing at the highest level. They're going to lose games. They're going to learn from them, and they're going to fix those things. But we are there to help them. So for me, it's a cycle that we've got to navigate as best we can as a technical team.
Shemo, before you go, let me just check if we've got any hands in that overflow area. I'm sure they're feeling left out. Are we happy we don't have any hands? Okay, all right. Temba Shabalala, Josie FM.
Coach, I'm looking at the development part of at your club, SuperSport, and you've been one individual that has been involved. But I would like to take the Bafana angle, looking at how you've dealt with Ronwin now that he's a senior keeper in the country. What does it say to you about the work that you do? How does it feel to you seeing him coming to being who he is? I mean, yourself, Coach Johnson as well. And what fulfillment does that come with seeing that he even won the biggest prizes in the CAF in the AFCON? And just to pick your brain on the second one, if you may allow me, looking at the young Ocon at SuperSport, a young boy with a dual citizenship, if I may use that, is it something that you as a Bafana legend look at and say, he should play for South Africa? Is it sort of a conversation that you probably have had with him?
I mean, those are two wonderful questions, and I can't wait to answer them, because if I take Ronman as an example, now that is a success story that development can never put a price on. Can never put a price on. And Ronman is a typical example of the fact that development doesn't happen overnight. And Coach Grant will be the first to tell you that he first worked with Ronman at the age of 12. So that's a sort of a lifetime, if you like, in development. And the pleasing story about that is almost as if it's come full circle. If I look at the relationship between Ronman and Grant Johnson, where they started off together and now they're winning, or they're winning podium places, you know, on the biggest tournament in African football. So that for me has been a wonderful sort of journey to see the two of them go. And I've been witness to that whole process in terms of where it started and where Ronman has grown to. And Ronman is a typical example of keep going, keep going. You're going to hit those bumps in the road. But he's proved that if you keep going, you're going to get where you deserve to get. And where's he now? He's the captain of our national team, and it's through that journey that he's not given up on. So, as a club, we take a lot of pride in the role that we've played, just in Ronman as an example, and there've been many others. And I guarantee that there'll be more to come. So, you know, that journey is, and I look at Ronman as an example, and I go, man, if I had that kind of development back in the day, you know, that's where we needed to be from day one. And I suppose if we go back to '96, perhaps we as players have got ourselves to blame, because we set the bar so high that all of a sudden the stakeholders in South African football maybe took their foot off the development pedal and said, but we've got ready-mades here, we don't need to develop. I think we've got to change that mindset. And at SuperSport United, we are changing that mindset, because you can see the pipeline that is coming through from the talent that we have, and the talent that we are just putting out there in the market. And to come to your second question, Ime Ocon is the next one on that radar. And I don't want to hype him up and put him out there and say he's the best, because he's 20 years old, I think. You know, shoot me for a few months, maybe he's 19. You know, but he's a super talent. He's a super talent, and I'm not even putting pressure on him, because I know we can handle the pressure. He's starting to prove it in games, and we need to look after him. And you spoke about that dual citizenship. We better be careful that we don't lose him, because he's one thing. And I know what I'm talking about, because I've had the privilege of playing behind some of the best defenders in South Africa. And I don't even need to mention names. You guys know who I'm talking about. And I'm telling you now, in a few years' time, he's going to be up there or even better than those ones.
Okay, last question, Mazola. Can we just get a microphone to him, please?
Coach Andre, on Richards Bay, see, I think, if memory serves, the last trip there is one to forget.
Yeah.
You know, what makes it a tricky side? Even then, the previous season, even when you met them in December, I think they were already sort of down there before the changes. And they seem to raise their game against maybe the Gauteng sides most of the time. What do you make of that encounter?
Like I said, the Richards Bay trip's not going to be an easy one, and you're quite right. It was one to forget, the last trip. Yes, there was a standing off, and you know, when you go down to 10 men, it's difficult to navigate a game like that, because we mustn't underestimate, first and foremost, the home support they get there. They seem to have built up a little band of supporters there who get so much behind them. And I could see, just sitting on the bench at that particular game, I could see how it got the team going. And that for me is important to understand when we're trying to negotiate this particular game. They just almost seem to get a bee in their bonnet when they played against us. And now, I'm not trying to take it away from them, because I think on the day, and let's be honest, on the day, even if we had 11 men on that field, I think they still potentially could have won that game. That's how good they were on the day. And so we recognize that. Of course, there's opposition analysis, and you have to take care that you spend enough time on their position analysis, as we will be doing against them, against this particular team. But we're also a team who like to focus a lot on us. On our work and what we need to do in terms of getting over the line in this particular game. And so we are doing that at the moment. Yes, the games are coming thick and fast. We don't get a lot of time to specifically focus. You know, we go last night and we've got to give the players a rest today. We're back tomorrow. Sort of just spending all our focus on this particular game, and then we'll travel to the game. So we've got to be careful how we manage the players and what we're looking for from them, and how much time we spend on what we need to particularly do in this game. But they've got some quality in that team. I think we must not underestimate the quality they've got. And when I look at the way they play, I'm thinking, how are they in the league table where they are? Because they're a well-coached side. They gel together nicely. They know what to expect from one another as teammates on the field of play. So we've got to be careful about that, and we've got our work cut out for us in terms of exactly how we put the team out against this team on the weekend.